Hello guys, welcome back again. And in this video segment, we are going to talk about botanical classification. In this special topic, we are going to see only classification given by Arman Takhtasan. So let's see some of the introduction. After that, we will see classification, merits and demerits of it. Okay. So when classification comes in our mind, two of the things you need to know. First one is what is natural classification, second one is what is artificial. So artificial, it's mean it will be talking about all of the evidence from natural condition. It will only have natural condition. It can be it's a natural selection things, it's evolution or some of the flower character. So it's natural, it's artificial. So in this segment, Takhtasan has given us that is the evolutionary step, we can call it artificial classification. So in most of the plant herbarium, that is simple classification usually use, that is Bentham and Hooker, because it is easy to use. Mostly depend on flower genetic character. Which character? Genetic character, rather than its somatic character. So first of all, introduction. Arman Takhtasan was born in 1910 and was died in 2009, and he worked at the Department of Herplant at the Komarov Botanical Institute in Leningrad, Russia, as a head of the department. Okay, presented a system of classification which was first published in 1942. Okay, his classification was inspired by Haller's attempt to create a synthetic evolutionary classification, synthetic besides from natural condition, based on Darwin philosophy. Darwin, who gave us about natural selection things, natural selection, and his approach of making this classification is very much similar to that of Cronquist scientists that have given us. So let's see what his classification. His system of classification is basically depend on Bessey-Heller tradition, which considered all evidence from different fields, including morphological, anatomical, embryological, cytological, paleontological, paleobotanical, chemical and ultrastructural evidence while classifying angiosperm. So when we count our classification on these type of evidence, we will be calling that synthetic evolution, artificial evolution. Okay, in natural classification, I have told you that we will be adding its natural condition, its natural selection things, or its genetic character, that is flower character. Okay, so let's come to our next slide. So Takhtasan divided the Magnoliophyta, its main angiosperm, into two classes, that will be dicot and monocot, accordingly Magnoliopsida and Liliopsida, in which Magnoliopsida is considered primitive. It's mean their origin is first, after that Liliopsida have been derived from them. So Magnoliales under comes in Magnoliopsida. So two classes have been further divided in 10 subclasses. So these two classes have been divided into 10 subclasses. In that, 7 will come in Magnoliopsida and 3 will be in Liliopsida. In 1980 publications, he have divided into 10 subclasses that you need to remember. That is as follows: 7 in dicot family, and third one in monocot, Liliopsida and Magnoliopsida. Okay, but time changes, and in second attempt he have changed some of the classes. Two classes have been divided into 15. In 1980 he have told us about 10 subclasses. Now he have changed 10 into 15 subclasses. In this 11 will be come in Magnoliopsida and 5 will come in Liliopsida, which are as follows. So Magnoliophyta will be having these subclasses, while Liliophyta having these subclasses. Okay, you don't need to remember all of that. You just take a look and you will remember that, and you just need to remember which is primitive in these classes, which is primitive in this classes. Okay, so among the subclasses, Takhtasan considered Magnoliidae to be the most primitive, forming basal group from which all other subclasses have been derived from it. Okay, among the Magnoliopsida, he considered the Asteraceae the most advanced. Asteraceae mean you can call it Rosaceae. So it is the most advanced in talking about only in Magnoliopsida, while three other subclasses under Liliopsida, these one Liliaceae, Ericaceae, Alismatidae, are considered to be the primitive, and then the other subclasses of Magnoliopsida have been derived from Magnoliidae. It's mean to say that these classes are mostly advanced from these all the classes. If you talk about first one, third subclasses, they are mostly advanced from it. Okay, while Dicot is primitive, it is advanced. So that's the case. Among angiosperm, if you talk about all angiosperm, the Ventraceae family is most primitive and Poaceae is the most advanced. Okay, it origin first while it's originate after that. Okay, so basically Takhtasan system is based on 67 phyletic principle. Phyletic mean to say evolutionary step. Some of the important criteria used by him to evaluate the relative degree of advancement of flowering plant are as follows. So these are the 60 some of the phyletic principles he have used in this classification. So he has told us that woody plants are primitive. One step that he has used to identify or discriminate all the plants. Woody plants are primitive because they have cambium in it. Cambium, it's mean they will have secondary growth and they will make a wood, while herbaceous plants don't have cambium, they will not make a wood. And second one, deciduous woody plants are considered evolved from evergreen plant. Okay, they are primitive. Deciduous comes after that. Xylem fiber evolved from tracheids to libriform fibers through fiber tracheids. On lacunar, I have given the whole video about it. Lacunar mean leaf gap or leaf trace. Leaf gap or leaf trace. You can go. I will share description link. Then you can watch that too. Alternate leaf harassment. Alternate, it's mean one leaf is here, one is here. Okay, is primitive, while parallel venation is most advanced. Parallel have only monocot have only parallel, while dicot have reticulate venation. So parallel obviously having advanced. Stomata with subsidiary cells are primitive than those lacking subsidiary cells. It means absent of subsidiary cells will give a advancedity of plant. Cymose inflorescence. Cymose mean limited growth. It's mean this type growth. On the top they will have flower, while racemose have unlimited growth. They will not have a flower on the top. these are all the evolutionary steps that he have used to identify all the plants into his classification. Flower with an indefinite or variable number of flower parts are primitive. Pollen with unsculptured exine is primitive. Apocarpus gynoecium is primitive. Bitegmic ovule are primitive, then unitegmic. Anatropous ovule is most primitive. It is the totally part of angiosperm. Okay, Anatropous ovule, you need to know where is antipodal cells, where will be placed on secondary nucleus, where will egg cell coming on that. So we don't need to repeat all that. 8 nucleated polygonum type female gametophyte is most primitive. 8 mean 3 antipodal, 2 secondary nucleus, 3 egg cell. So it is 8 nucleated polygonum type. Mesogamic and chalezogamic conditions have evolved from porogamic conditions. So it is the whole chemotactic of pollen tube movement. Okay, among fruits, many seeded follicle is most primitive. Which one? Seeded follicle is most primitive. So it is the whole classification based on these all steps. So you don't need to remember all of that. You can take a look and can identify all the topics. So now we will be talking about merits of the Takhtajan system. In this case, the dicots Magnoliopsida has been discussed prior to monocots. That is a good point. And families are small homogeneous units made up of closely related genera. Other good point, the dicot began with magnoliales, which is highly satisfactory, as magnoliales are universally considered to be the most primitive living angiosperm. We have discussed about the Magnoliophyta subclassification. In subclassification, we firstly placed out which one? Magnoliales, that is mostly primitive living angiosperm. So that is totally satisfactory. Among monocots, the Elsmetals, which are considered to be the most primitive living monocot, have been placed at the starting point. It is, if you remember, it is placed on higher point, which is satisfactory also. Angular and parental division of dicots, their division based on phylogeny. You need to remember that too. Into two traditional groups has been abolition in this system. Problems such as monophily or polyphily, interrelationship of dicots and monocots, primitive position of magnoliales, the secondary nature of anophyllous families with reduced unisexual flowers have been satisfactorily settled. So these are the merits, these are satisfactory point. That is the good vibe that come from this classification. Now we come to the demerits of Takhtajan system of classification. The main objection was derived from this system is his derivation of monocot from the stocks of ancestral to the nymphales. The extremely narrow defined taxa in this system has resulted in the unwarranted splitting of related groups. That's the most confusing evolved from this classification. So these are the all about Takhtajan.